Curious about this cave toilet? Keep watching and you'll see. This was by far one of the coolest experiences in nature that I've ever had. I'm going to take you on a journey in Vietnam to go camping inside a cave, the third largest cave in the world, named Hang En. The cave, called Hang En in Vietnamese, translates into swift cave. Hang translating into cave, and En meaning swift birds, who inhabit the cave. This cave is located in Kẻ Bàng National Park in central Vietnam, where the first largest cave also resides, which is Hang Sơn Đường. The best way to get to this national park and both of these caves is to first fly into a city called Đồng Hới, which is the nearest airport, and then from there taking a taxi, grab, or shuttle to Phong-Nha, which is the city at the base of the national park. It's now been developed into sort of a tourist destination, so you'll see lots of bars and restaurants, but you can also see the local people and how they live, and it's actually a nice, quaint, and cute little town. You'll definitely see the hipster cafes and bars for the Instagrammers out there, and you'll likely stay in one of the many hostels that cater to foreigners and others traveling to the area to visit the caves. So after staying a night in a hostel with some amazing hosts, early the next day, the tour company will likely come and pick you up, and our tour group was called Oxalis Adventures, and they specialize in leading tours to Hang En Cave and Hang Sơn Đường, the other largest cave. From here, they take us to the base camp where we store any large luggage that we won't be taking on the trip. You get fitted with some water shoes and helmets for the cave, and then you go through an orientation on safety and how we're going to get to the cave. And I also want to mention that everywhere around here is extremely scenic. So even at the base camp where the headquarters is located, it's situated alongside a river with this mist in the air, and you can see the green lush mountains in the background, and it really felt sort of like a scene from National Geographic. Once the journey starts, we pack into the bus, and it takes us about an hour down some bumpy terrain, and we get to the head of the trail. Overall, I'd say the level of hiking is moderate, but there were definitely some steep areas. You have to make treks through water, through some shallow rivers, and it is quite a bit of walking. So yeah, I'd say in total, probably about like 5 hours of hiking, which isn't too bad, but you definitely want to be somewhat in shape before going on this adventure. Something to be thankful for as you're trekking is that the tour group and the porters actually carry all of the heavy items for you. So you just carry your own backpack, but they carry like the portable toilets, all the food, any heavier items, and the camping tents. Along the road, after hiking for about maybe an hour or two, we take our first break for lunch, and this was one of the first pretty awesome stops along the way because we saw one of the local villages. The Kinh ethnic group is the main ethnicity in Vietnam, comprising over 85% of the population. And there are many minorities, including this one that resides in the Kẻ Bàng National Park. They live in these quaint countryside villages and speak a language completely different from Vietnamese. We had lunch at this one spot. It was very generic. It was just some bread and some meats and veggies. So we made the Vietnamese banh mi sandwiches and then took a little bathroom break. But I had the most fun sort of just exploring this little village, seeing the stray dogs that were around, and just sort of seeing how they live. The way all the huts seemed to be set up, they had like a second story where they would probably sleep. And then on the first floor was sort of like this open kitchen, and it was open to the outside. One other thing to mention about the villagers is that they live this extremely isolated lifestyle, and there's definitely a good amount of poverty associated with how they live. So the guide was telling us about how some of the villagers would go find landmines in the area from during the Vietnam War and try to disarm them so that they could sell them for parts. And this was a very dangerous endeavor for them. At the little schoolhouse that they had, there was a shrapnel that served as the school bell that they would ring. Finally, we approach and get close to the cave, and you start to get a little tingle, a little sense of excitement as you realize that you're finally about to go inside this awe-inspiring cave. But we were stopped by a herd of cattle, so we actually had to wait outside as we saw this huge herd of cattle in front of us, and they just didn't seem to move. You could get pretty close and they wouldn't even care. So this was another sort of cool nature experience. Once the cattle had finally started to mosey away and walk away, we were able to enter the cave, and it turns pitch black immediately. So you put on your hard hats with the headlights, and you turn that on as you walk through and sort of just immerse yourself into this darkness. After walking for a while, suddenly you come across the main hall of the cave, and a giant space just opens up in front of you, and it's just magnificent with water and a beach, and in the distance you catch a glimpse of all the tents that the porters had gotten there ahead of you to set up. Once everyone took their turns taking some pictures of the main hall and the giant spaces from atop, you start to climb down towards the water and make your way across the little lake onto the beach area where the tents are. Now, this gave me some serious Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince vibes, if anyone knows what I'm referencing. Once you're across, it's basically time to start exploring and having fun. So for the next 24 hours, you get to eat some amazing homemade food that the company provides. You can explore the cave, you can swim in the lake, take pictures, and sort of just meditate on this entire experience. During your time in the cave, I just want to call upon these main highlights that I think were really interesting to call out. So the first is the stunning views. The light shines into the cave at different times of the day, and it just has such a beautiful quality to it, and it'll highlight different sections of the room and bring in different types of light, and it's really something like spiritual to witness. Something else which was actually surprising to me was the best food that I had in Vietnam was inside this cave. And that is because they made home style meals from Vietnam with some, I guess they must have been very good chefs that came along and made so many different things. I remember the flavors of lemongrass and omelets, and like even for breakfast they made some crepes, which weren't traditional, but they made so many other traditional Vietnamese foods. They catered towards vegetarians. If you're vegetarian, this was one of the best food experiences that I had in Vietnam. Now, a caveat to this, which was kind of funny, but also I was kind of annoyed at the time, was that the bathrooms weren't the most pleasant. So I was actually trying to eat less so that I didn't have to use the bathroom. Luckily, somehow I was able to eat as much as I wanted, and I didn't use the bathroom during the time that I was in the cave. So the bathrooms are basically just these buckets that they bring along that have some kind of like wood chips in there to prevent too much smell. And yeah, I tried to avoid the bathroom, and I actually was somehow successful. Another highlight was just exploring the cave and seeing it from different angles, being able to follow the river throughout the cave and just seeing where it leads. One last thing to admire is the rays of light coming into the cave once you wake up, and it sort of hits the tent, and then you can unzip your tent and go outside. And I remember this moment being really inspiring because I saw so many people around me sort of just sitting there and staring up at the light, and it had like a cinematic, like movie kind of feeling to it. And lastly, at night when it was pitch black and there wasn't anything else to do, one of the best things was the camaraderie with the other tour group folks that you're with, and playing games and just chatting about life. After eating a good brekkie that morning, you get in a little bit more relaxation, explore the cave a little bit more, and then it's time to head back to Phong Nha. So get your feet and legs ready to cross back through all the rivers and some serious inclines, and then make your way back to Phong Nha. One of my main visions of Vietnam before I went was just riding on a motorbike, feeling super free, and just zooming down some kind of country road or city road, and just experiencing that. And I was able to do that here. So I definitely recommend getting a motorbike, and you can ride around town. You can go up to some other parks and see some waterfalls. But I think this is one of the just most freeing experiences ever. Just be careful and make sure you know how to operate the motorbikes, because I didn't quite figure it out at first and I scraped my leg pretty bad. Alright folks, I hope this gave you a little bit of insight on what staying in a giant cave is like, and I think everyone should try to experience this, and if not, hopefully at least watching this video gives you a bit of insight on the sensations and the feelings you can get from it. But regardless, this is what I love about traveling so much, is seeing all these new places, meeting different people, and experiencing what this world and what humanity has to offer. And this was just a culmination of all of that in one place. So thank you guys, and look forward to seeing you guys again. Bye.